Welcome to the Blue Duck Fantasy Football Podcast.
Welcome to the Week 6 Sunday Recap Show. I'm your host, Ben, and with me as always is Maddie Nice. If this is your first time watching on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed, and if you're listening on iTunes, Spotify, or PodBean, make sure you follow or subscribe as we post 2 podcasts a week, recapping and previewing the NFL games. We go into player values, trade targets, waiver ads, and more. So make sure you hit that notification button to get notified when something new is posted. But let's go to recapping Week 6. Matt, why don't you hit us with the news?
Amari Cooper went down with a quad injury today, did not return. Obviously a big loss for the Cowboys there. Big loss for fantasy owners if he misses a lot of time. Also, sort of breakout tight end Will Dissly went out with an Achilles injury. That's probably going to be long-term. I can't say for sure, but...
Can't imagine you have a short-term Achilles injury.
Yeah, he's probably out for quite a while, which will lead him to the IR spot or back on waivers, I guess, and people have to pick up somebody like maybe a Chris Herndon or something.
Any other major injuries today to report?
No, not at the moment.
All right, just going to quickly recap the Thursday Night Football game. Giants only had Golden Tate. He was the only weapon, and he had a good game. Don't expect that every week, as there's going to be a whole lot less targets going to him, especially when Barkley's back. As for the Patriots, this team keeps getting away with playing poorly like this on offense. They had a 3rd and goal at one point from like 4 yards out, and they ran it with Brandon Bolden. Like, this is your third best back, and that's what you're doing. I get that it's unexpected, so it throws teams off, but you got to let your best skill guys do their job. Brady sneaking it in twice for touchdowns, I don't have a problem with. Sure, it takes away from my Sony Michel points, but Brady sneaking it from the 8-yard line for no reason at all, that's just idiotic. The guy's over 40. He's going to get hurt. And like I said, I am upset because I have a lot of Sony Michel shares, but this is just stupid football, and they got to stop that. Moving on to the early game today, the Carolina Panthers in London facing the Buccaneers. It seems like the Bucs D has McCaffrey's number, but they don't get to play him again, so don't worry about that. DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel continue to be where they were for me before the game. Same with Olsen. Nothing's really changed with this team fantasy-wise for me. Matt, your thoughts on the Panthers?
Yeah, I mean, McCaffrey saved his day with getting a couple touchdowns there. DJ Moore is getting the targets that he needed to be getting to keep himself relevant. Went up from 8 to 10 this week, so good news for him. Even Olsen saw a bit of an uptick here today, but yeah, nobody really changed for me here as well. For Tampa, really bad day for famous Jameis here. The running back's going to be frustrating. We've talked about that. And both wide receivers had a pretty good day, 17 and 12 targets for Evans and Godwin. So that's obviously where Winston's looking. And O.J. Howard.
4 targets.
4 targets, 2 for 35. I don't even know what to tell you about him anymore. I guess you can't really start him. We've said that a few weeks, but yet he keeps finding his way into lineups.
I don't think you could drop him, though. I think the tight end is too weak, especially with Dissly going out now. That's another one gone. Henry's actually playing today. And Njoku should be back soon. But at this point, I don't see how you can start him. But next week will probably be his breakout game. As we mentioned on the live show on Sunday mornings, Evans and Godwin are 1A, 1B now. Must start every week, rest of the season. And I feel like a broken record talking about this running back situation. But you need to get them off your team. Just trade them if you can get anything for them. Some type of package deal. They're going to cost you more wins than they're going to get you. And while Jameis is what he does. Mm-hmm. He still had a decent fantasy day even with the 5 turnovers. But we'll move on. Cincinnati at the Ravens. 0-6 now, Cincinnati. They had 8 rush attempts in this game for Joe Mixon. This is your most skilled player and my new favorite player. This is against the defense that let Nick Chubb run all over them like 2 weeks ago. 12 targets for Auden Tate. What a game plan this was. They need to get rid of this coach. Bring back Marvin Lewis. He was getting a whole lot more out of the Bengals than this coach is. Boyd was a huge bust. I'm assuming he was taken away by the Ravens defense in that corner they have.
Marlon Humphrey.
A. Erickson had 6 targets. Now, Matt, he's a wide receiver. Can you guess what his first name is?
Because I'm looking at the stat line, yes, it's Alex.
Would you have known that if you weren't looking at the stat line?
I would not have. He also led the team in rushing yards today.
Fantastic. What a game plan they came up with. This team is better than 0-6, and Dalton will likely get thrown under the bus here, even though he isn't playing that bad. and you'll probably get benched for Ryan Finley because they have to make a change. They need to trade AJ Green as well. This team isn't going anywhere this year. His contract is up. There's no reason to keep on the team. Matt, your thoughts on this Bengals team?
But the coach was under Sean McVay.
Oh, then you can't get rid of him.
Exactly. Anyway, yeah. I had Tyler Boyd as a play in DFS today, and obviously that smacked me in the face here.
Did you cash in DFS?
I did cash.
The streak is over?
Yeah, it's over. But
congratulations on your first cash of the year.
It could have been a lot better, though, if Tyler Boyd was better. But anyhow, yeah. Auden Tate is nothing that, again, I still don't really want a part of him. But if they're going to throw it to him 12 times a year or 12 times a week, you can't really ignore that anymore.
They should be throwing it to him 12 times a year, though.
Yeah, exactly. And Joe Mixon, yeah, he needs to get the ball more than 8 times in a game. Well, okay, you got a couple of catches, but you know what I mean. Baltimore, really good day for Lamar Jackson. Not great passing, but this is rushing yards, 150 rushing yards, a touchdown. We knew he's capable of it every week. It seemed like they were going out of their way to let him run it today, actually. Ingram not getting a ton of touches, like an okay amount of touches, but nothing spectacular. He's not sticking in the top 12 anyway with that kind of volume here. And Andrews had a good bounce back day, but none of the wide receivers or anybody you can start if Marquise Brown is not playing.
Yeah, he actually threw okay, Lamar. He didn't have any touchdowns, but he had decent yardage and decent completion percentage. The one thing that stood out to me looking at this game was Ingram had 13 carries, Gus Edwards 6, Justice Hill 5. This is starting to look a little bit like a committee that they're going to put out there. So if I had Mark Ingram, which I don't in any leagues because I don't like the guy, I'd be looking to sell him now. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's Blue Duck Fantasy Football, and hit that notification bell to be updated when we post new videos. And we'll talk more about trade scenarios for Ingram later this week in our episode of Trade Talk. And like you mentioned, I still don't want any wide receiver whose nickname isn't Hollywood on this team. And I'm all in on Mark Andrews as a top 5 tight end rest of the season.
Yeah, I can't really disagree with that at this point.
Moving on to the Texans at the Chiefs, game of the week. This is actually a really good game to watch. And in case you haven't figured out, the way to beat the Chiefs is to run it against the Chiefs. Every decent team that will go up against the Chiefs is going to run the ball. Every poor team is going to be forced to pass, so they'll have to abandon the run. KC plays Denver on Thursday, so Lindsey and Freeman are going to get a boost in my rankings for sure. I'll have Lindsey higher than Freeman, likely top 15 with borderline top 25 for Freeman. Okay, I guess I'll talk about the Texans now. 26 carries for Hyde in the revenge game. He's the number 1 running back on this team, and Duke is more of a third down back for me at this point. And until Watson gets hurt, he's matchup proof. 12 targets for Hopkins and 9 catches for 55 yards. But he got a 2-point convert.
He did.
Will Fuller is not good. You saw that today. He can't really make catches when they're contested. He needs to be wide open to do that. The Texans play the Colts next week, and I doubt Fuller will be inside my top 25. Kiki, 4 for 39 on 6 targets, is slowly, and I mean slowly, moving into PPR relevance, but he's not there yet. Darren Fells, 6 for 69, and his 2 for 22 touchdown game last week. He now has 14 for 150 and 4 touchdowns in his last 4 games. Matt, are you buying this at all?
No, I am not buying that at all.
Me neither.
One thing that will happen to this offense probably next game, if not the game after, Kenny Stills returns as well, which could throw off Kiki and Will Fuller. He was doing it before he got hurt, so be on the lookout for that. Is Hopkins still wide receiver number 1?
Yes.
Yeah, he is, but man, it's getting a little bit frustrating. 41 rush attempts for this offense in total against KC. This is, like you said, this is what teams are doing. They want to keep Mahomes off the field, and it seems to be working. Carlos Hyde, don't expect him to keep up a 4.5 yards per carry, though. He wasn't doing it before.
Yeah, that's the KCD, just letting people walk through them.
Yeah, and he had that one really bad fumble, too. Not that didn't take him off the field, luckily. Kansas City was a bit of an interesting team for today with the rushing attempts divided up between 8, 1, and 0 for the other Williams, with 8 being Shady McCoy, 1 being Damian Williams, and 0 being Darrell Williams. Okay, so we thought McCoy would be I said McCoy was the best back in the offense, and that you were kind of using him as such. But, it's going to be tough to trust either Williams going forward if that's their usage. Nice to see Tyreek Hill back, a couple touchdowns. Thought we'd get a little bit more Hardman today. Caught all 4 of his targets, though. It's nice, and Kelsey continues to struggle.
Yeah, 8 for 44 for McCoy, and nobody else had more than 1 carry, as you mentioned. 10 targets for Hill. He's healthy. You saw that when he did that flip. He's my least favorite player in the league right now, but he is must start. Travis Kelce's still my tight end 1. I know you say he's struggling, but this was his worst week of the season, and he was 4 for 58. With Hill back, Hardman and Robinson are going to hover around the top 35 to top 40 for me. They're going to be boom or bust plays every week, especially against teams that are going to run the ball. They're just not going to get enough targets. They each had 4 today. Like you said, Hardman caught all 4 of his, and Robinson caught none of his. Yeah, I don't really care for them to be in starting sets, like 3 wide receivers during the bye. I guess you could put them in as a boomer bust play. And once Sammy is back, they won't even be inside the top 40 for me. They're both going to be outside of that. But yeah, you were right about number 1 being McCoy there. As Williams either not 100% or they're fine with Shady as the lead back. But regardless, this is a committee. And you saw today when they had limited plays, they put the ball in Patrick Mahomes' hands, running, 10 plays or 10 rushing plays in total, not counting the ones that Mahomes ran.
Yeah.
And 35 pass plays. They want the ball in Patrick Mahomes' hands, and if they're not going to have a lot of opportunities to throw because teams are running against them, they're not going to run. They're just going to abandon it and say, listen, we're going to let Patrick Mahomes do his thing. So I'm not overly excited. I'm lowering all the running backs on this team unless they're playing teams that are going to give up a lot of points and get blown out, and then the running backs will go back up for me. Moving on, we have the Saints at the Jaguars, and the Saints offense today looked more like we expected to look under Teddy Bridgewater. Very conservative, lower scoring. The one we saw last week is a bit of a mirage. You still have to start Kamara and Thomas, especially in PPR. Kamara had 7 catches for 35. Thomas had 8 for 89.
Yeah, hopefully Drew Brees is only a couple weeks away to get this thing rolling again. Jags defense is decent as well. Latavius Murray looked surprisingly good today. But again, until Brees is back, you can't really start anybody outside of Thomas or Kamara for me. Jacksonville, again, Leonard Fournette is a startable asset. DJ Chark usually is, but kind of called it a down game for him today. Good job, and he did deliver with that. 3 for 43. Fournette's becoming a receiver, so that's good news for his PPR value. 6 for 6 there. But yeah, I'm not starting any of these other wide receivers with Dede or Marquise Lee got hurt. I don't even know if he came back, to be honest. Doesn't really matter. Nobody's owning him. Yeah, Jaguars, you got Fournette and Chark. That's about it for me.
Yeah, as I called, bad matchup for Chark. Lattimore has been shadowing and doing a really good job of covering number 1 wide receivers. We said this was going to be a Dede Westbrook game, and, well, it was. Barely. He had 8 targets to 7 for Charks. Dede Westbrook is not dead, and if he's out on your waiver wire, he's a decent guy to go grab. Here's his target amounts for the season so far. 6, 5, 9, 6, 11, 8. That's not, not going to blow you away, but that's a player who, during the bye weeks, can be plugged into your lineup, and you can expect to get to you 5 or so points in standard, maybe close to 10 in PPR. As I mentioned last week, and I'm going to continue saying it, Leonard Fournette is a player I am looking to buy. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's Blue Duck Fantasy Football on YouTube. Hit that notification bell to be updated when we post new videos, as we'll talk more about trade scenarios for Fournette later in the week in our episode of Trade Talk. Moving on, Matt, why don't you tell us about the Eagles who visited the Vikings today?
Yeah, Philly, they struggled today for offensively. Jordan Howard had not a great day. Miles Sanders had the 1 touchdown catch. So, again, we're not really buying on either of these running backs. Carson Wentz had an okay day at the end of the day. Alshon had a pretty good day. We were kind of butting heads on that this morning on the live show. And Ertz was just average. Fumble lost as well. Dallas Goedert basically split targets with Ertz, so that's a little concerning going forward for the Eagles.
Yeah, Wentz is top 10 every week for me. I'm fully on board Carson Wentz. I started last week, and I'm all in. Jordan Howard looks to be the lead rusher, but that won't last, so don't bank on it. They might just decide that they want Boston Scott to be the leading rusher next week, so they might go with that. Alshon's the only wide receiver that matters until Djax is back. Miles Sanders is turning into a third down back. But who knows? Maybe he'll lead the team with 20 carries next week. This is similar to that Tampa Bay situation. Trade yourself out of it. I'll happily buy Ertz right now. 50-plus yards and 4-plus receptions in every game. Just hasn't had the touchdowns. They're coming. But he's another player that we'll talk about on Trade Talk. So make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, Blue Duck Fantasy Football. Hit that notification bell to be updated when we post new videos, as well as we'll talk more about trade scenarios for Ertz later in the week in Trade Talk. As for the Vikings, Diggs squeaky wheel game. That's back-to-back Vikings wide receiver squeaky wheel games that I've called. Plus the Hyde revenge game today. Mm-hmm. The announcer even mentioned that on the broadcast.
Yes, he did.
I am on fire with these calls, so make sure you tune into the podcast on Thursdays to hear what's next. 14 carries for Matheson with no H, 16 for Cook. This is because of the lead. Matt, are you buying Kirk Cousins as a startable quarterback for the rest of the season, or is he matchup dependent?
For me, Cousins is still going to be matchup dependent. He's played two bad pass defenses the last 2 weeks, and took advantage. Good for him. He
was your quarterback in one of our leagues today. He'll play the Lions next week. Will you be holding on to him, or are you going to be dropping him on the wire?
I'll have to see what's out there for better matchups, but the Lions are not a great matchup for him, so I would probably look to move off of him. Anyhow, Madison without an H looked pretty good today. Fumble lost. Dalvin Cook also without an H.
He's the H back though.
Yeah, he had volume, but I thought he'd be better. Again,
good defense.
Yeah, it was a good defense, but he got the touchdown salvage his fantasy day. Good day for Diggs here. But yeah, obviously don't expect this kind of performance going forward. This is the kind of day I can see Thielen having quite a bit, 50, 60 yards and a touchdown maybe. Nobody else on this team really interests me for fantasy purposes.
Not even Laquan Treadwell, who had that nice catch late in the game?
Not even Laquan Treadwell. That was a sleeper at the beginning of the year, which didn't pan out.
Got cut. Now he's back. Anyways, moving on. Seahawks at Browns. This was an entertaining game. Russell Wilson keeps it going. He's going to stay the number one quarterback in fantasy. We mentioned a few weeks ago about Tyler Lockett's value likely going up because of the nice matchups they're going to have where they're going to have to score points. Well, that applies to Wilson as well. Like, these matchups are good for Lockett. That means they're good for Wilson. Mm-hmm. DK Metcalf has 2 games with less than 60 yards this season. That's it. So he gets low volume, but he can be started in standard scoring 3 wide receiver leagues during the buys. I'm not buying Jaron Brown. They get the Ravens next week, which should be a fairly good fantasy matchup. Carson had high volume day with Penny out. Matt, where do you rank Chris Carson rest of season?
Rest of season, Chris Carson, this is standard. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. His value is about the same in both. He catches a couple balls.
Yeah. He caught 4 today.
Okay, so why don't we start? Why don't you guess whereabouts where he's going to be? What?
He's going to be probably about running back 8, 9, somewhere in there.
Okay, so I'm just going to take a quick look here. Okay. Derrick Henry or Chris Carson?
I'll take Carson.
Okay. Chris Carson or Aaron Jones?
I want to wait until tomorrow if I can to see what happens.
Okay, so that'll be delayed. Okay. Chris Carson or David Johnson?
I'd still take DJ. I believe there.
Chris Carson or Le'Veon Bell?
You know what? I'm going to go Carson, I think.
In standard, what about PPR?
Standard for sure. PPR, I'd probably lean back towards Bell, but it'd be really close.
James Conner, who's having a good game right now on Sunday night.
I would go Carson, I think, over Conner right now.
Carson, Kerryon Johnson?
Carson,
Nick Chubb?
See, Chubb's tricky because of Kareem Hunt there at the end.
Yeah, we'll talk about that a bit later in the week too.
But yeah, I mean, right now I would probably take Chubb because he looks really good right now.
Melvin Gordon. Do you need to wait to make a decision on that?
Yeah, I think you need to wait on that one. Right now I would go Carson, but we'll see because they're still using Eckler quite a bit.
Last one, Joe Mixon.
You got to go Carson. You can't take Mixon over him right now.
Okay, so you got the top 4 backs. Chubb. You said Connor, yes or no?
I said Carson over Connor.
Okay. David Johnson. So that's about 6. You want to hold out on Aaron Jones. So yeah, he's looking at about 7 to 9 range for you, depending on what Aaron Jones does tomorrow. All right. Why don't you tell us your thoughts on the Seahawks?
Okay. You mentioned, with the wide receivers, their value, but, I mean, they're still not getting like a high volume of targets.
They're being very efficient, though. They're catching basically everything thrown to them, so Russell's either putting it right on them or he's not throwing to them unless they're wide open.
Yeah, like it's 5 for Metcalf
On 6 targets,
Lockett, Brown. No, 5 targets.
5 and 5.
I'm reading the targets, yeah. And then 4 and 4 for Carson and Moore. Like, he just spreads it around. So great for Russ. Not so great for the rest of them, in my opinion. But, again, we kind of differed on Lockett at that point, too. Will Disley, I just can't, like talked about before, I can't see that being a short-term play. And
there's no, like, it's not like they have another, like, Luke Wilson isn't going to come in and be fantasy relevant here, so you're going to have to go in a different direction.
Yeah.
If Hunter Henry was available or Chris Herndon is available, or even Njoku if you can wait a couple weeks, you're going to have to find something.
Yeah. For Cleveland, nice to see Odell finally having a post 100-yard game.
Ooh.
Yeah. Nice catch there, which was a really catch. But yeah, when Odell got his 11 targets, unfortunately Jarvis Landry went down to 5, which is really disappointing. You'd think he could have taken some of these Ricky Seals-Jones targets or Callaway or Chubb. But anyway, nice to see Beckham there, but he's still hovering not in top 5 anymore, but around top 10. Another great day for Nick Chubb. He looks really good. Like I said, it's kind of hard to worry about Hunt at this point. If he keeps this up, I can't see Hunt stealing too much from him.
Yeah, that's a decent point because they're not really in the playoff mix right now. We expected them to be, and they might look in a rest. But Nick Chubb is someone that we're going to definitely talk about on our Trade Talk episode this week. So make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's Blue Duck Fantasy Football. And hit that notification bell to be updated when we post new videos. And we'll talk more about Chubb in Trade Talk. Baker's not startable for me regardless of matchup. He's outside the top 15 until this pass offense starts rolling again, if they ever do. 11 targets for Beckham isn't a big deal. He's barely over 100 yards. And he's getting 11 targets with the Giants. He was like 135 and 2 touchdowns. So Landry, like you said, took the knock. Ricky Seals-Jones keeps slowly climbing the tight end ranks. He's still nowhere near your starting lineup. They really need to focus on giving Chubb the ball and running play action to set up the passes. But as you mentioned, weekly reminder that Kareem Hunt is coming. 6 weeks down, 2 to go. They are on bye next week. Hopefully they can fix that pass offense. But in November, that's when Kareem Hunt will be there. Moving on, we have the Washington football team going to Miami and getting their first win. Matt, your thoughts on Washington?
Very good day for Adrian Peterson, which, again, that was a good call from yourself there. Don't expect that again this year, though.
Ever again.
No. Unless they get to play Miami again, which I really doubt. Maybe they'll let them play each other because it was as entertaining as a game as one of these two teams is going to play all year, probably. Terry McLaurin, good game. Going to be a sell high candidate, likely, for most people. And, Keenum, 166, thought he'd be a little better, but that's efficient enough. Beat Miami anyway.
Yeah, Adrian Peterson, like you said, he proved that you can actually run behind this line as long as you're playing the Dolphins.
Yeah.
It is time to sell Terry McLaurin. You're never, ever going to feel comfortable starting him. He was at one point two catches, 2 touchdowns. He finished with 4 for 100 and 2 touchdowns. He's the only weapon they have on this offense whatsoever. They can't run the ball, and they won't be able to do that anymore. You might not have heard this yet, but we do have an episode on the YouTube channel called Trade Talk, where we talk about trades, and Terry McLaurin, Scary Terry, is going to be one of the guys we talk about, so make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's Blue Duck Fantasy Football on YouTube, and hit that notification bell. As for the Dolphins, it looks like it's time for a little fist magic in Miami. Balaj got the goal line carries today. He might be the goal line back, but who cares? You're not adding this guy. We had a Mike Gesicki sighting today. Preston Williams still the only wide receiver I want to own, and even then it would only be in a deeper league. Walton and Drake had 6 and 9 targets respectively. I'm happy avoiding every single player on this team the rest of the season.
Yeah, that's what I was going to basically chime in with there. Like, not even Preston Williams interests me at this point.
You'd have to be in like a 16-team league with a fairly deep bench to hold on to him. or any type of league that's more than 1 year. That's where he has his most value.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. Yeah, dynasty or some sort of keeper league there. But yeah, don't expect anything from any of these players on offense to get you any reliable amount of points. I mean, if you really are struggling for like 2 quarterback leagues and super flex and your first 2 quarterbacks are hurt, then you can start like Fitzpatrick or Rosen. But other than that, no, forget it. I can't say anything good about this team offensively, so I'm not going to say much at all.
All right, let's move on to a very entertaining game today. The Falcons at the Cardinals. Matt, are you sad that Sanu only got you 3 for 29 as your flex play in the Sunday showdown?
That is about what I expected from Mohamed Sanu. So, unfortunately, being right was bad for me in this case. Good fantasy game, though. Great fantasy game, actually, for...
Which we predicted.
Yeah, almost everybody involved here was doing really well. Nice day for both quarterbacks. Devonta Freeman had a pretty good day, a couple touchdowns. Julio, unfortunately, did not find the end zone, but got at least that 100-yard mark. Nice day for Austin Hooper, which Arizona's defense against tight ends were quite aware that is a good targetable matchup going forward.
Yeah, Matt Money Ryan cashes me 6 times my entry fee today in my DraftKings pool. Devonta Freeman, who had a great game, is not back. I'm not buying this. This is a sell-high opportunity if you have Devonta Freeman. We've talked about his value a lot before. He was good in the passing game today. He actually ran well, but I'm not buying this at all. Cardinals have allowed at least 23 points to every team they've played, so look to start players against the Cardinals in DFS. They're at the Giants next week, so get your healthy Giants in your DFS lineups, and that includes Danny Dimes. Hooper's just beasting right now, especially in PPR. 8 for 117 and 1 today. One of the things I mentioned on the Sunday pregame show is how he's in the top 10 in receptions this year for players. So another 8, he's going to stay there. Julio's Julio. Ridley is spotty, but he gets touchdowns. Borderline top 25 wide receiver for me every week. As for the Cardinals, Kyler Murray also beasting right now, although not much with his legs today. Bit of a down game, well, disappointing game, I guess I'll say, for Larry Fitzgerald with Kirk out. But the running backs were the ones who benefited from Kirk being out. Edmonds did cut into David Johnson's touches a little bit, but David got his and then some. 3 touchdowns on 12 for 34 on the ground, and then 6 for 68 in the air. Atlanta, another bad defense that's allowed at least 20 points in every game. Another team you want to target in DFS. They get the Rams at home next week in what should be a get-right game for the Rams. We'll talk about them in a bit. Matt, where do you rank David Johnson rest of season? First of all, above or below Carson? You said above?
I said above Carson, yeah. So he's going to be 6, 7-ish.
So behind the top 4.
Yeah.
Who's sliding into 5 there? We have Chubb?
Chubb maybe.
What about Connor?
No, Connor's below those guys, I think.
Okay. Dalvin Cook?
Yeah, Dalvin Cook's another one. Yeah, he's going to be up there until he gets hurt.
So he's top 5?
Until he gets hurt.
Until he gets hurt.
Yeah.
Chubb 6, so you'd have him about 7?
Yeah, roughly. Like Aaron Jones might be in there too.
Fournette? We didn't mention Fournette for either of them.
Yeah, yeah, those guys are all kind of grouped together, right? They're
that second tier.
Matchup dependent, kind of who's going to be higher than whom.
So why don't we do this? Rest of the season, why don't you rank these 3 guys? Chris Carson, Leonard Fournette, David Johnson, Le'Veon Bell. I know I said 3 guys, so let's make it 4.
Okay.
In standard, and then let me know if it changes for PPR.
I'm going to say DJ's still 1, just because I just believe that talent's still there. And I think this offense is getting right here. So I think he's going to be okay. We're going to go Carson 2, Fournette 3, Connor, or not
Bell.
It wasn't
Bell.
Connor, it was Bell. Bell 4.
In
The other
PPR, does
Pittsburgh.
Bell jump anybody?
Bell jumps actually Carson.
So he goes to number 2?
Yeah. Yeah. Bell.
Okay. I'll take David Johnson 1, Fournette 2, Carson 3 in standard, and Le'Veon Bell 4 in PPR. But I'll put Le'Veon Bell at number 2 and move all the guys down 1 in standard. Or sorry, in PPR.
Yeah, no, that's fair. But yeah, as much as you say it was like not a great running day for Kyler Murray, it was still 11 rushing attempts.
For 32 yards,
Yeah,
though.
no, for sure. The rushing yards aren't there. But the attempts, I mean, a couple of those are probably kneel downs, like maybe. I don't know for sure on that.
Depends how they score those, right?
Yeah. But his long was 14. I think he's going to be a little bit more mobile. I think you're going to see closer to like 7 to 10 carries from him almost per game. So it's something that maybe to look at there. Yeah, you would have thought Fitzy would have a better day without Christian Kirk there to steal the targets, because nobody else really did much there except for DJ.
And Edmonds had some catches as well.
2. Bird had that one really long one, that 58-yarder. But yeah, like Keyshawn wasn't a factor. I don't even know if Andy Isabella even dresses anymore. But yeah, there's not much there for that offense. When Kirk's back, him and Fitzy they cancel each other out almost like they...
Yeah, they're about the same.
They're about 35-ish wide receivers.
Yeah. Moving on, 49ers at Los Angeles. This 49ers defense is absolutely killer. You're going to want to avoid players going up against it. They go to Washington next week, so make sure you sell Scary Terry and don't start any of the other Washington players. That might be like a 37-3 final there. This team's going to run, and then run some more. Both running backs are going to be top 25 for me through the buys. There's no wide receiver that is likely going to be startable at all for this team this season. They spread the ball around. They're going to be desperation starts at best. Kittle's the man, though.
Yeah, it's pretty accurate there. Neither of the running backs looked that particularly good today. Just both the yards per carries were under 3. It's not great, but again, they're going to just run so much that they're going to be purely volume plays there. Yeah, and Kittle was great. The rest of the wide receivers are not startable, basically. Rams started off looking really good. They ran the ball down their throats in the first drive. I don't know how many carries Malcolm Brown had in the first drive, but it looked like he got the ball quite a bit, and then he ended up with 11. So I don't know what happened there.
I don't think he gained much more than a couple yards after that first drive, because he was at 40 yards and it was looking good for him, and he finished with like 41 yards.
He's got 40 yards at the end here. Yeah, and none of the wide receivers had a good day at all. Everett, we both had that as a bust, and that he did. No catches for Robert Woods, which is really surprising, actually.
He did have his touchdown, though, so he was the best wide receiver there.
Yeah, which is funny. He had the best wide receiver got 0 catches. Good for you. Yeah, and even Goff looks bad nowadays. Like 78 yards, that's terrible.
Yeah, that pass rush is something else that they have that front for. And I think the fact that Gurley wasn't playing, they were just like, whatever, we'll let you run all day. We're just going to take away the passing game. And they did. 78 yards for the passing game. That's absolutely terrible. Kupp, 4 for 17. They're going to bounce back next week for sure. Mm-hmm. As we mentioned, they are going to Arizona. You might see more Henderson, though. They kept going to him even after he fumbled. He looked fast. He looked good, but that defense is something else for San Francisco. They stopped him on 4th down at the goal line with Brown, and then on another 4th down play with Henderson. And I think this is going to hurt Brown's rest of season value. The only good sign from this game for the Rams was that Everett actually had 5 targets, which I think was up there for the lead for this team. He didn't lead the team in yards. I think that was the other tight end that did, Higbee. Yeah. But the 5 targets is nice. He'll probably move up a little bit in my tight end rankings, but he's still not a weekly starter. He's more of a bye-week spot start at best. Moving on to the upset of the week, Cowboys at the Jets. Matt, what do you make of this Cowboys?
Cooper being out obviously didn't help anything there. Dak didn't have a very good day. Zeke had a better day.
Yeah, great day.
Yeah.
He was our number 1 running back this week, right?
Yeah, I think so. He was mine anyway, in standard for sure. I think in PPR too. But yeah, I mean, he got a ton of volume there, 28 carries. And he was one of their top receivers, actually, I think. 47, well, he was 4th, but 47 yards for Zeke.
They were all around the same number.
Yeah, nobody great. Once Cooper was out, it just kind of, they split the targets out pretty evenly. 6 for Tavon Austin, which, okay. Didn't think I'd ever see that name in a fantasy podcast. 7 for Witten, 7 for Gallup, 6 for Zeke, and 6 for Cedric Wilson. Yeah, like if Cooper's out for a long period of time here, Gallup is going to get a bump. Witten will get a little bit, but I mean, don't buy Austin or Wilson or Devin Smith if he still plays. I forgot about him.
Forgotten wide receiver.
Yeah, and Dak might he'll bounce back a little bit, but 0 touchdowns. not great. He did have the one rushing touchdown salvaged his fantasy day for his owners.
Yeah, it looks like Dak, our love affair, lasted about a week. I'm going to credit the Jets' pass D in this one, and the Cooper injury also hurt. Gallup is good, but he's not a number one yet. He needs to have that number one to draw the coverage away so he can play against weaker corners so he can make a big difference. The Jets' defense was 10th against quarterbacks in fantasy scoring before today. And the Jets will get the Patriots at home on Monday night, and I'm not loving Brady, especially the way he's been playing. Make sure you tune into the preview podcast later in the week. Follow, subscribe, check back here every day, whatever you got to do to get the info that we'll be handing out later in the week. As for the Jets, welcome back Sam Darnold. Wow.
Yeah.
Bell is Bell, and he continues to be must start. Both Crowder and Anderson, that's Robbie Anderson, are fantasy relevant again. That's good. But is Sam Darnold fantasy relevant, Matt? Where do you rank Sam Darnold rest of season?
For single quarterback leagues, I still can't see him as a starter. But he'll be about 17 to 20-ish.
Ooh, wow, that deep, eh?
16 maybe.
Okay, so I'll name some quarterbacks, and you let me know when to stop. Patrick Mahomes.
So these are quarterbacks I'd rather have.
Yeah, we're going to go since it's so far away.
Okay.
Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson, Aaron Rodgers, Lamar Jackson, Carson Wentz, Kyler Murray, Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, Matt Ryan, Jared Goff.
Yeah, I would still ride it. I don't think that.
Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, I'd still take Baker, I think.
Dak Prescott.
Yes, I'm going to take Dak.
Kirk Cousins.
Closer, but Cousins so far, I think he'll do it more often than Darnold will.
Phillip Rivers.
Yeah, take Rivers.
Tom Brady.
Yeah, because they throw in weird situations.
Are you counting how many we're at now? I think that's like 12.
I'm not.
You said Baker already?
Yep.
So that's 10 at Baker, 11. We got 12, 13, 14. Obviously, Drew Brees comes back, 15, 16. Yeah, okay. So there you go, about 17. He's in that mix there. Good call. Impressive with your numbers. Thoughts on the Jets?
Yeah, it was nice to see that as soon as Darnold came back, that these wide receivers returned to relevance. Admittedly, I was a little bit worried about making sure that that week one Jamison Crowder thing was a bit of a mirage, but appears that it's not. So that's nice. I'm glad I used waiver priority number 1 on him in week 1. Haven't been able to start him since, but maybe now. Yeah, Le'Veon, even with the return of Darnold, he wasn't given a lot of space to run. They only rushed it 14 times. We thought it would be a little bit higher. I guess they're just kind of preserving him a bit. Not sure why. They're 1-4.
Yeah. The thing was they burnt him through the air, right? So like they said we're going to stop Le'Veon and then we're going to let Sam Darnold beat us, and well, he did. So
no, fair enough. That makes sense. Would have thought Le'Veon be more involved overall, though.
Yeah, especially with the big lead that they had, maybe they would try to run with more, but I don't know, maybe they wanted to get Darnold's confidence as high as possible. They're not really caring about wins or losses at this point. They're just kind of making sure this team is set up for the future. There's no need to blow out Le'Veon Bell on a 400-touch year. Yeah. That's what they were on pace for doing before Darnold came back.
No, fair enough, I guess. I just thought he would have a bigger day, yardage-wise.
Yeah, same.
But anyways, it looks like these wide receivers are going to be relevant, and Herndon will probably be relevant when he's back. So that's about it for the Jets, though, for me.
Last game of the day, Titans at the Broncos. Mariota was benched for Tannehill in this one, and Tannehill was 13 for 16 for 144 yards versus 7 for 18 for Mariota. He did throw a pick late, though, but they were down 16-0, so they were trying to get something done. I don't really care who starts as far as I'm not starting either of these quarterbacks, but this man right here, Corey Davis, might get a bump if Tannehill's out there. Throwing 13 for 16 for 144 is a lot better than what Mariota usually does. But I'll need to see it before I throw Davis into my lineup blindly. Henry was shut down in this one as he didn't get enough carries. He's a volume guy. He's got to get his carries to kind of run, like wear down that defense. He's a big body back. 34 pass attempts, 15 carries for Henry in a game that they trailed at most 16-0. That just doesn't make sense. That's just bad play calling. Matt, thoughts on the Titans?
Yeah, that's kind of a weird one. I would have thought he'd be in the mid-20s at minimum with just the way like Mariota was playing. He was playing bad. Like, you just think you would just try to force it at that point. And Denver's run defense hasn't been good this year. I think we both had Henry in the top 10 for running backs this week. This is why I skipped him on the Sunday Showdown. Thought he would have a better day than Lev, but obviously that didn't work out. None of these wide receivers you can start until you see it from Tannehill, like you just said. But Corey Davis is definitely the one with the most talent. And if Corey Davis gets moved by chance in real life, then that could really spike his value, but we're not really here to speculate about that.
It's going to damage the value of the jersey, though, which is not cool.
No, that's true. Unless he does really well, then maybe.
Maybe it goes up.
Maybe it goes up. For Denver, pretty good day for Freeman. Lindsey. Not that great of a day for Freeman, 34 yards. But Sutton continues to be the man here for target-wise. Had 8, only 3 for targets for Emmanuel Sanders.
He left the game.
Left the game with an injury. That's probably explains that. Sutton's still startable, and the running backs. Lindsey's definitely startable. Royce Freeman, flexible in a pinch in a standard league.
Yeah, and they get KC next week, right? So they're going to be
on Thursday night.
On Thursday night, well, I love running backs, so
I'll throw it to you. You can go with Denver.
Yeah, I got nothing much to say about Denver. This is exactly what I expected. I expected a low-scoring game. 16-0 fits that. I wasn't crazy about Sutton because I didn't think they were going to score a lot. He was the leading receiver, which he'll probably be pretty much every week, other than like the odd week where Sanders will have a good week if he can be healthy again. The running back, it's always going to be Lindsey above Freeman, and that's about it. Matt, you got some early waiver targets. I got the Jets that we covered just recently. We've had the Giants at one point this year, and we had the Packers when Devontae Adams went down. So now it's the Jets' turn. Darnold, Robbie Anderson, Jameson Crowder, and Chris Herndon, of course. Mm-hmm. Another one is Matheson with no H, running back for Minnesota. And if D-Jax has dropped in your league, he should be coming back in the coming weeks. So if you have room, grab him. And as I mentioned, Darrell Henderson might be an interesting one as well, depending on how long this Gurley injury lasts. Yeah,
they were saying even earlier, I think it was yesterday, that they're not even sure that he's going to be ready for next week. So
is that Gurley?
Yeah, Gurley. So Henderson might be a good pickup there. If Madison's somehow on your waiver wire, which means you haven't been listening to us at all this year, go grab him.
Go grab Alexander Matheson with no H.
Yes, because Cook's weeks are running out. He made it through 6. That's pretty good for him. This is all borrowed time. Yes. It will likely happen. And he's shown when he gets that opportunity, he's been good. So I don't think it's going to be a big downfall there, and especially for like Dynasty or Keeper Leagues. He's a great ad. Not really anybody else that I can think of aside from the Jets players there that we talked about.
You're not going to be adding Darren Fells to replace your Will Dissly shares?
Well, I have 0 Will Dissly, but no, I would not add Darren Fells regardless of that.
Okay, anything else to add?
Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hopefully you're doing both.
That's it.